There comes a moment in life when the person you thought would stay becomes a memory. The messages stop. The phone no longer rings. The silence grows louder than the conversations you once cherished. You wake up hoping it was all a misunderstanding, only to realize that reality has already made its decision. Heartbreak has a way of making the strongest people question their worth. It convinces them that because someone walked away, they must have been unlovable, not enough, or destined to carry this pain forever. But heartbreak is not the end of your story. It is the end of one chapter. The greatest mistake people make after losing someone is believing they have lost themselves. They begin measuring their value through another person's decision. They replay every conversation, every mistake, every moment, searching for answers that may never come. They think that if they understand everything perfectly, the pain will disappear. Yet the heart does not heal through endless analysis. It heals through acceptance. You cannot force someone to love you. You cannot force someone to stay. You cannot rewrite yesterday. Every moment spent fighting these truths becomes another moment stolen from your future. Pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It teaches you where you ignored your own needs. It teaches you where you depended on someone else for your happiness. It teaches you that strength is not discovered when everything goes according to plan, but when life removes everything you thought you needed and asks, "Who are you now?" Do not become your suffering. Too many people introduce themselves to the world through their wounds. They become the person who was betrayed, abandoned, rejected, or forgotten. Years pass, yet they continue living inside a moment that has already ended. Your pain is an experience, not your identity. It visited your life, but it was never meant to become your permanent address. Accept what has ended, not because it was fair, not because it did not hurt, but because reality does not change simply because we refuse to accept it. Look at nature. Trees release their leaves every autumn without believing they have failed. Rivers never turn around to reclaim the water they have already carried away. Every ending creates space for something that could never arrive while the old still remained. Your heart deserves the same freedom. Stop trying to control what was never yours to control. You cannot control another person's choices. You cannot control how quickly someone moves on. You cannot control whether people appreciate your love. The only life you will ever truly command is your own. Control your thoughts. Control your habits. Control your character. Control the way you respond when life becomes difficult. That is where real power lies. Heartbreak often creates an illusion that happiness left with the person who walked away. This is one of the greatest lies the mind ever tells. Before you met them, you already existed. You had dreams, talents, curiosity, laughter, and possibilities. None of those disappeared. They were simply buried beneath grief. Now is the time to uncover them again. Wake up earlier. Take care of your body. Read books that strengthen your mind. Spend time in silence. Walk without rushing. Learn something new. Every disciplined action sends a quiet message to your soul. I am rebuilding. Healing does not happen in one dramatic moment. It happens in ordinary days. The day you smile without forcing it. The day you laugh unexpectedly. The day their name enters your mind without breaking your heart. The day you realize peace returned quietly while you were busy becoming someone stronger. Forgive, not because they earned it. Not because they apologized. Forgive because resentment is a chain that keeps you connected to the very pain you wish to escape. Forgiveness is not releasing them from responsibility. It is releasing yourself from captivity. And when the time comes to love again, do not allow fear to become your guide. Do not punish new people for old wounds. Do not confuse wisdom with emotional walls. A closed heart may avoid disappointment, but it also prevents genuine connection, growth, and joy. Open your heart again, but this time with clearer eyes. Choose people who respect your peace. Choose honesty over excitement. Choose consistency over empty promises. Choose relationships where you never have to abandon yourself just to keep someone else. Remember this, whenever your heart feels heavy, the people who leave your life make room for the person you are becoming. The tears you cry today are watering the strength you will carry tomorrow. The nights that seem endless are quietly preparing you for mornings you cannot yet imagine. One day you will look back at the heartbreak that once convinced you your life was over, and you will realize it became the moment your real life began. You will discover that losing someone was never the greatest loss. The greatest loss would have been allowing that experience to destroy your peace, your confidence, your purpose, and your belief that you are still worthy of love. Walk forward without bitterness. Carry your lessons, not your chains. Let the past remain where it belongs. Protect your peace with discipline. Strengthen your heart with patience. Trust that every ending is creating space for a beginning you cannot yet see. Keep moving, even if your steps are small. Keep believing, even when hope feels distant. Keep choosing peace, one day at a time, until it no longer feels like a choice, but becomes the way you live. Pain has a strange way of introducing itself into every human life. No one escapes it, no matter how strong, successful, or prepared they appear. It arrives through heartbreak, failure, rejection, betrayal, loss, or disappointment. The moment pain enters your life, your mind begins to whisper dangerous lies. It tells you that you are broken, that you are unworthy, or that your future will always look like your present. The greatest mistake is believing those thoughts and allowing pain to become your identity. Pain is something you experience. It is not who you are. There is a profound difference between saying, "I am hurting," and saying, "I am a damaged person." One describes a temporary experience, while the other creates a permanent prison inside your mind. Think about how a teacher works. A teacher does not stay with you forever. A teacher enters your life to reveal something you could not see before, offers lessons through challenge, and then steps aside once you have grown. Pain follows the same pattern. It teaches patience when life refuses to move at your pace. It teaches resilience when everything familiar falls apart. It teaches wisdom when trust has been broken and humility when pride has blinded your judgment. Every painful moment contains a lesson, but most people become so focused on escaping the discomfort that they never stop to ask what it is trying to reveal. When you identify yourself with pain, every decision begins to revolve around fear. You avoid new relationships because someone once hurt you. You stop chasing dreams because failure embarrassed you. You silence your own voice because criticism wounded your confidence. Slowly, pain is no longer an event from your past. It becomes the architect of your future. This is how temporary suffering transforms into a lifelong burden. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can this experience teach me that comfort never could?" Comfort rarely forces growth. Pain exposes hidden weaknesses, uncovers unrealistic expectations, and reveals strengths that would have remained invisible during easier times. Just as fire shapes steel into something stronger, difficult experiences shape character when they are faced with awareness instead of resistance. The scars you carry are evidence that you survived moments you once believed would destroy you. They remind you that even during your darkest seasons, life continued moving forward. Every difficult chapter has the potential to deepen your understanding, strengthen your discipline, sharpen your perspective, and awaken a quieter, steadier version of yourself that no longer. depends on perfect circumstances to remain calm. One of the greatest causes of suffering is not the ending itself, but our resistance to it. When something comes to an end, a relationship, a friendship, a dream, or a chapter of life, our first instinct is often to hold on tighter. We replay memories, search for different outcomes, and imagine countless ways things could have been saved. The mind becomes trapped in endless negotiations with reality, hoping that if it thinks hard enough, the past will somehow change. Yet reality remains unchanged, no matter how much we resist it. The more we refuse to accept what has already ended, the more we prolong our own pain. Acceptance is often misunderstood. Many people believe accepting an ending means approving of what happened or pretending it did not hurt. It means neither. Acceptance simply means recognizing reality exactly as it is instead of exhausting yourself by fighting what can no longer be changed. It is the quiet decision to stop arguing with life and begin living in the present instead of remaining imprisoned in yesterday. Nature demonstrates this lesson every day. Trees do not cling to leaves that are ready to fall. Rivers do not flow backward to reclaim the water they have already carried away. The sun never refuses to set because daylight was beautiful. Everything in nature understands that endings are not failures. They are part of the rhythm that allows new beginnings to exist. Human beings suffer because they often expect life to remain unchanged, even though change is the only constant experience shared by everyone. Resistance usually comes from attachment to expectations rather than attachment to reality. Sometimes we are grieving not the person we lost, but the future we imagined with them. We mourn conversations that never happened, promises that were never fulfilled, and dreams that existed only in our minds. The pain grows because we continue feeding an image of what life should have been instead of embracing what life has become. Every day spent chasing an impossible version of the past is a day taken away from creating a meaningful future. Letting go does not happen all at once. It is a practice repeated through small decisions. It is choosing not to revisit old messages for the 100th time. It is allowing memories to exist without allowing them to control your emotions. It is accepting that closure does not always come through explanations from others, but through peace within yourself. The heart heals when it no longer demands answers that may never arrive. Strength appears quietly when you stop asking life to return what it has already taken away and begin making room for experiences that could never enter while your hands remain tightly closed around you. What has already ended much of human suffering begins with the desire to control things that were never ours to control. We try to influence how other people think about us, how they respond to our kindness, whether they stay or leave, and whether life unfolds according to our plans. When reality refuses to obey our expectations, frustration, anxiety, and disappointment begin to grow. We convince ourselves that if we worry enough, explain enough, or hold on tightly enough, we can change what is beyond our reach. Yet no amount of effort can control another person's heart, erase the past, or guarantee the future. The struggle itself becomes heavier than the situation we are trying to change. Detachment is often misunderstood as becoming cold, distant, or emotionally empty. In truth, healthy detachment is not about caring less. It is about suffering less. It means giving your best without becoming imprisoned by the outcome. It means loving without trying to possess, helping without expecting repayment, and working hard without allowing success or failure to define your worth. You can be fully committed to your actions while peacefully accepting that the final result is not entirely in your hands. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you keep your hand relaxed, most of the sand remains with you. But if you squeeze your fist as tightly as possible, the sand slips through your fingers even faster. Life often follows the same principle. The tighter you grip people, expectations, or desired outcomes, the more tension you create within yourself. Peace comes from learning when to hold gently and when to let life move naturally. Many sleepless nights are created by questions that have no immediate answers. Will they come back? Why did they change? What if things never improve? What does everyone think about me? These questions consume enormous amounts of emotional energy, yet they rarely produce clarity. They only pull your attention away from the present moment, where your real power exists. Your influence begins and ends with your own thoughts, choices, attitudes, and actions. Beyond that boundary lies uncertainty, and uncertainty is part of being alive. The moment you stop chasing control over everything outside yourself, you begin to notice the freedom that has always been available. You can choose your response even when you cannot choose the situation. You can protect your peace even when others misunderstand you. You can continue walking forward even when the path is unclear. Every difficult experience becomes lighter when you stop asking life to obey your expectations and start directing your energy toward the things that truly belong to you, your character, your discipline, your habits, your integrity, and the quiet strength to release what was never yours to command in the first place. Suffering has the power to change every person, but the direction of that change is never decided by suffering alone. Two people can experience the same loss, the same betrayal, or the same failure, yet emerge as completely different individuals. One becomes consumed by bitterness, while the other develops compassion, resilience, and wisdom. The difference is not found in the pain itself, but in the way it is carried. Suffering can either become a prison that traps you in the past, or a forge that shapes a stronger version of yourself. The choice is rarely easy, but it is always present. Many people spend their energy asking why painful experiences happen to them. They search for perfect explanations, hoping that understanding every detail will erase the hurt, yet some questions never receive satisfying answers. Growth begins when your attention shifts from asking, "Why did this happen?" to asking, "What kind of person will I become because this happened?" This simple change in perspective transforms pain from an obstacle into a powerful teacher. Every challenge begins to reveal lessons that comfort could never provide. Think about how muscles grow stronger. They are not strengthened through comfort or stillness. They grow because they are placed under resistance, stretched beyond their current limits, and allowed time to recover. The human spirit follows a similar pattern. Difficult experiences expose hidden fears, challenge old beliefs, and force you to discover strengths you never knew existed. Without hardship, many qualities such as patience, courage, endurance, and humility would remain undeveloped. Suffering also removes illusions. It reveals who remains beside you when life becomes difficult. It teaches the difference between temporary attention and genuine loyalty. It strips away false confidence built on easy circumstances and replaces it with quiet strength earned through experience. This kind of strength does not seek approval from others because it has already survived moments that required standing alone. It speaks less, reacts less, and trusts itself more because it has learned that peace comes from within rather than from external validation. There will be moments when progress feels invisible. Healing is not always dramatic. Sometimes transformation happens in the smallest decisions. Choosing to get out of bed despite emotional exhaustion, choosing forgiveness over resentment, choosing discipline instead of self-pity, choosing hope when despair seems easier. These quiet victories may seem insignificant, yet they gradually reshape your character. Every small act of resilience becomes another stone in the foundation of inner strength. Over time, the very experiences that once threatened to break you become the source of your greatest wisdom, your deepest confidence, and your calmest presence in the face of life's inevitable storms and uncertainties that continue to shape every human journey without exception. Many people search for peace, as though it is hidden in a distant place or waiting to arrive with the perfect relationship, career, or circumstance. They believe that once life becomes easier, their minds will finally become quiet. Yet peace rarely appears because the world becomes less chaotic. It appears because you learn to remain steady within the chaos. This steadiness is not built through occasional moments of inspiration, but through the quiet power of daily discipline and complete presence. Small actions repeated consistently have a greater influence on your inner world than dramatic changes made only once. Discipline is often mistaken for punishment or restriction. In reality, discipline is an act of self-respect. It is choosing what benefits your future instead of surrendering to every temporary emotion. Your feelings change from one day to the next, but disciplined habits remain dependable. You may not always feel motivated to wake up early, exercise, meditate, read, or spend time in silence. Yet these practices slowly reshape your mind. Every disciplined choice teaches you that you are capable of guiding your life instead of being controlled by your impulses. Presence is equally important because much of human suffering exists outside the present moment. The mind constantly wanders toward memories that cannot be changed or worries about events that have not yet happened. While the body exists here and now, the mind often lives somewhere else entirely. This separation creates unnecessary stress. The present moment is the only place where life is actually happening, yet it is also the place we visit the least. Learning to return your attention to what is directly in front of you allows your thoughts to settle naturally. Simple daily practices become powerful when performed with awareness, drinking a cup of tea without checking your phone, taking a walk while noticing the rhythm of your breathing, eating a meal without rushing, listening to someone without planning your next response. These ordinary moments train the mind to remain where life truly exists instead of constantly escaping into regret or anxiety. Presence is not achieved through extraordinary experiences, but through ordinary moments experienced completely. Discipline and presence strengthen each other. Discipline creates routines that protect your peace, while presence allows you to fully experience those routines instead of rushing through them. Together, they build a stable foundation that cannot easily be shaken by external events. You begin responding thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. Your attention becomes less scattered, your decisions become clearer, and your emotions lose their power to control every action. Day after day, these quiet practices gradually transform the restless mind into one that is calm, focused, patient, and deeply rooted in an inner peace that does not depend on perfect circumstances or constant approval from the outside world. After experiencing heartbreak, betrayal, or deep disappointment, the natural instinct is to protect yourself by building walls around your heart. You tell yourself that if you never become vulnerable again, no one will ever have the power to hurt you. At first, this feels like strength. It feels safe to trust no one, expect little from others, and keep your emotions hidden. But over time, the walls that were built to keep pain out also begin to keep joy, connection, and love from entering. Fear disguises itself as protection, yet it quietly isolates you from the very experiences that give life meaning. Healing does not ask you to stop loving. It asks you to love differently. The goal is not to become suspicious of everyone you meet, or to assume that every new person will repeat the mistakes of someone from your past. Each person enters your life with their own choices, values, and intentions. Carrying yesterday's wounds into today's relationships places an unfair burden on people who had nothing to do with your pain. Wisdom learns from the past without allowing the past to control the future. Fear constantly whispers that history will repeat itself. It encourages you to search for problems before they exist, to question every act of kindness, and to expect abandonment even when there is no evidence for it. Living this way creates emotional exhaustion because your mind is always preparing for disasters that may never happen. Wisdom, however, remains calm. It pays attention without becoming paranoid. It notices actions instead of empty promises. It values consistency over charming words, and understands that trust is built gradually through time rather than instantly through emotion. Opening your heart with wisdom also means respecting yourself enough to establish healthy boundaries. Compassion does not require you to tolerate disrespect. Kindness does not require endless sacrifice. Love should never demand that you abandon your dignity, your values, or your peace of mind. A wise heart knows when to forgive, when to communicate honestly, and when to walk away from situations that repeatedly cause harm. Boundaries are not barriers against love. They are expressions of self-respect that allow love to grow in healthy conditions. There is always uncertainty in opening your heart again. No relationship comes with guarantees, and no amount of caution can completely eliminate the possibility of disappointment. Yet choosing fear guarantees something else. A life where loneliness replaces possibility and protection replaces growth. Every meaningful connection requires courage, because vulnerability is the price of genuine closeness. Wisdom does not remove that risk, but it gives you the confidence to face it with clearer judgment, stronger self-awareness, deeper patience, and the quiet understanding that your peace no longer depends on whether someone chooses to stay or leave.